Hello and welcome to the Productivity Exchange. Today I'm starting a series of videos for people new to project management. This video is Square One. The aim of the series is to give you an overview of the discipline as a whole, along with specific tips and examples. I'll also introduce you to the common terms you're likely to hear. I spent over a decade working in EdTech and have managed countless software and publishing projects and programs. I've also trained and managed a team of project managers and coordinators. The examples and techniques I provide will draw on my experience, but will be more broadly applicable in white-collar settings. There are many different methodologies for managing project work that all have their own pros and cons, but they all cover roughly the same areas. I'll focus on these core areas and how they relate to some of the most common methodologies like Agile Scrum. While I don't go into exhaustive detail on every aspect of project management, my aim is to provide a practical level of detail. Today, I'll cover what projects are and how they differ from other types of work, as well as the differences between portfolios, programs, and projects. In this series, I'll cover the stages all projects go through from initiation to closing regardless of methodology, how teams can be structured, techniques, tools, and skills for planning, monitoring, and executing the project, how to set up project communications within a team as well as with stakeholders, the importance of quality assurance, stakeholder management, and risk management. First off, let's define the word project. Personally, I like to keep it general, so to me it's a set of activities with a clear start and finish and the aim to bring about a specific goal. The Project Management Institute, in their book called Project Management Book of Knowledge, defines it similarly as a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product or service. While I like this definition, I think it misses projects that don't necessarily generate a product or a service. Some projects might, for example, have a goal of reducing costs, improving efficiency, or mitigating risks. Projects generally have a goal of creating value of some form, whether that's through the direct development of a new product or service, or indirect through cost savings, risk mitigation, improved productivity, or customer retention. So projects are time-boxed with a clear start and finish, have a goal or multiple goals, as in why are we doing this project in the first place, and provide value of some form. Projects also need people assigned to roles with specific responsibilities and the authority to perform these duties effectively, as well as the budget to pay for people, tools, and facilities. Each of these points should be well defined for a project, else you risk going over time, over budget, wasting resources, building the wrong thing, setting the stage for conflict, or over-promising and under-delivering. Now that we have a definition for the word project, it's important to note that not all work is project work. Projects differ from continuous day-to-day activities of a business. Projects tend to be more varied and involve more unknowns and problem-solving, and doing something new and novel. Continuous operations, on the other hand, tend to be structured, ongoing, without a well-defined end date, process-oriented, and repetitive. As an example, filling store shelves happens regularly and would be considered part of business operations, but setting up a new stock management software and training all relevant staff would be considered a project, as it would have a clear time frame, one-off activities like the initial training of staff, and has a goal associated with the value like improving how stock is managed and ordered, and will have clear people assigned to the task of implementation and training. There are two definitions for project management. One for the activity and the other for the discipline as a whole. Project management as an activity is how we guide a project from start to finish. Because every project is different and because people are involved, there is no single magic methodology for how to manage all projects ever. Anyone that tells you otherwise is trying to sell you something. Every methodology has its pros and cons, and what works for one team doesn't necessarily work for a different team, even in the same setting. Research from the Project Management Institute's Pulse of the Profession 2024 report shows that no methodology has a measurable advantage over any other when it comes to project success rates. Part of managing projects successfully is determining what is needed for a project and the people at hand. For example, an experienced project team that's worked on similar projects in the past likely needs less structure than a new team with no prior experience. As another example, a small project with a small team of few stakeholders isn't likely to need a formal communication plan, where a large project composed of multiple interdependent teams and many stakeholders definitely will. Bear in mind, though, that just choosing the right methodology for the context is not enough to guarantee success. Project management as a discipline encompasses a body of knowledge. By learning the higher level concepts and the pros and cons of different methodologies, we will be able to set our projects up for success. Project managers need both analytical and interpersonal skills. As a project manager, you will need to analyze data and create plans where tasks and people are likely dependent on others. You will also need to negotiate the wants and needs of stakeholders, who may pull you in different directions. As an example, how do you resolve the mutually exclusive goals where one stakeholder doesn't allow you the budget to add the required number of people to the project to meet the deadline, but the other stakeholder has already promised the outcome of the project to a client by a deadline? Unsurprisingly, projects fail. It's difficult to gauge failure rates overall, not least because research relies on self-reporting and surveys, and the definition of failure can differ between respondents. Is simply delivering a little past the deadline a failure? Is that type of failure as bad as being years late and over budget? That's very context dependent. What is clear is that a lot of projects go over time and over budget, or are cancelled before completion. There are many reasons for this, from poor initial conception and planning to inadequate monitoring and communication, and many things besides. A big one is a lack of planning and poor communication of the plan. In a blog post from 2017, the custom software company Genica suggests that their survey found that only 55% of IT professionals feel that the business objectives of their projects are clear to them. It's hard to build something effectively when you're not sure what it is you're supposed to be building. Later in the series, we'll look deeper into the causes of project failure, along with mitigation strategies. For now, just know that many projects fail and that you will likely end up managing a project like that. I'll do what I can to help you avoid common issues and give you tools so that you can maximize your learning when it happens to you. Before we wrap up, I want to introduce you to the terms program and portfolio and how they relate to projects. In general, they are structured as follows. Portfolios contain programs and projects. Programs contain projects. Note that larger portfolios might be split into sub-portfolios which can contain programs. Likewise, programs might contain sub-programs. Generally, portfolios deal with strategic business goals and visions. These strategies, goals, and visions can be broken into initiatives which are then assigned to programs. Programs aim to deliver against these initiatives, which are broken down further into projects. Note that programs and projects are often confused, but the distinction is that a program manager generally coordinates projects at a higher level and ensures alignment to business needs and objectives, where project managers are more concerned about keeping projects on track and on budget. If you want to read more about how projects and programs differ, I've added a link in the description below to a page from Atlassian that's well worth a read. That's where I'll leave it for this first video. I have a broad plan for what I want to cover with this series, which I will adjust based on feedback. If you have any questions or constructive feedback, let me know in the comments. If this was helpful, please consider liking and subscribing or sharing, as it lets me grow the channel and help more people. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.